As you would probably guess by the title, in this video, I want to dive into why I think Battlefield 2042's failure was ironically the best thing that ever happened to the franchise, how it forced DICE and EA to confront their biggest mistakes, and how those tough lessons now fuel what looks to be the revival fans have been begging for. There are plenty of deep dive videos out there covering the development of Battlefield 2042, and I definitely recommend checking those out. But for today's video, I'm keeping it simple. I just want to walk you through the key lessons learned from 2042 and how they've been applied to Battlefield 6. And yeah, I'm assuming Battlefield 6 is going to be great because after playing the beta, if it ended up anything like 2042, I might just quit gaming. So hopefully this video ages well. Let's kick things off with what I think is the biggest lesson they learned. Identity. Development on Battlefield 2042 started back in 2018, right in the middle of the Battle Royale craze. EA wanted a piece of the action. Even though Firestorm and Battlefield 5 flopped, they still chased the trend. In fact, 2042 was originally designed as a Battle Royale before pivoting to a more traditional Battlefield experience around 2020. That's where mechanics like vehicle call-ins and on-the-fly weapon attachment swaps came from. And the specialist? That was EA trying to chase another trend in the industry at the time, set by Apex Legends and Call of Duty. Now, Call of Duty has always been Battlefield's biggest competitor, and EA saw how successful those games were at selling cosmetics tied to unique characters. They wanted that same success for Battlefield, but at the cost of the franchise's core identity. Now, let's compare this to Battlefield 6. I think this quote from Matthew Nickerson from an interview with IGN describes it best. Quote, from the design side, we are aware of what other products are doing, but we're really focused on what works for Battlefield at the end of the day. We're not chasing trends, we're not chasing other products. I think a perfect example of the skins that we're so committed to releasing is the Road to Battlefield 6 event that's going on in 2042. Those are 30 premium skins that will give players a taste of what more is to come when we talk about cosmetics in the Battlefield 6 product line. Generally, I think from a design perspective, we're doing us. We're staying in our lane, doing us at the end of the day. Now, he's mainly talking about cosmetics in this quote, but I feel like this sums up 2042's biggest issue quite well. If they really wanted to recapture what made the classic Battlefield game so successful, they had to stop chasing trends and start focusing on what made Battlefield Battlefield. And you could tell that they understood that from day one. One of the biggest complaints about 2042 was that it felt like a mashup of other games, straying from its roots and ditching the traditional class system that made titles like Battlefield 4 so iconic. That's why Battlefield 6 drops the over the top specialists that made 2042 feel more like a hero shooter than a Battlefield game. And honestly, who better to steer things back on course than Brian Bede and Vince Bella? If you don't know, these two industry veterans have been behind some of gaming's biggest wins, and their influence is already showing. Battlefield 6 brings a ton of mechanical changes, aim assists, movement tweaks, and more. But just as important is how they handled the Frostbite engine this time around. For those who don't know, Frostbite was a major pain during 2042's development. Basically, the team had to relearn the engine from scratch without the original experts to guide them. That challenge was made even tougher by the fact that over 100 developers left the studios behind Battlefield during that period. So for Battlefield 6, they stuck with the current version of Frostbite, but made stability and performance across PC and console a top priority from the start. They've also been running Battlefield Labs playtests since February, gathering real feedback from players on everything from weapons to bugs. It's clear that they're listening this time. Alright, the last thing I want to talk about map design. I've got some strong opinions here, but I'll keep it short because otherwise we'd be here all day. Let me just say it the maps in 2042, they suck. Yeah, that might sound dramatic, but it got so bad they started bringing back classic maps instead of making new ones. And even those iconic maps didn't play well in 2042 Sandbox. 4 years of updates later, and they're still a mess. You spend half the match running towards the action, only to get blown up by a tank because there's zero cover between objectives. One of the biggest issues was trying to make massive 128 player maps also work for 64 player matches. It just didn't click. Now, Battlefield 6, it's a whole different story. Most of the maps are inspired by real world locations, which gives them way more personality and tactical depth than anything 2042 had. I mean, who's going to forget a map called Brooklyn Bridge? And yes, Operation Firestorm is back, but this time it's built to actually fit the gameplay, not just thrown in for nostalgia points. Every Battlefield 6 map shown so far has way better flow, and you can actually move between objectives without getting picked off by a dozen snipers. Because guess what? There's actually cover on these maps. They've clearly learned from what went wrong with 2042, and Battlefield 6 feels like a direct response to that failure. It's obvious they put way more care into making sure this one hits the mark. But I want to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think EA would have actually listened to fans and tried to deliver the best Battlefield possible if 2042 hadn't crashed and burned the way it did? And if you like this video, like and subscribe, because there'll be plenty of Battlefield 6 content on its way soon.